Hey, what's up? I'm Poter Robinson.
Hey, this is Madeon.
tomadです。よろしくお願いします。
僕tomadというんですけれども、マルチネレコーズっていうインターネットのレーベルを2005年ぐらいに始めて、今11年目にポーターさんとも縁があって、そのマルチネのアーティストのリミックスをしてもらったりとか、マデオンさんは僕は実はポーターよりも先に知っていて、アニソンをリミックスするとか J-POP をリミックスするみたいな、僕らのシーンでもすごい流行っていて、なんか世界中でこういうことをやっているアーティストがいるんだなっていうのを2人は知ってからチェックしてたんですけども、交わるとは思ってなくて、だから最初にコラボレーションをするって聞いた時にすごい驚いたイメージがあるんですけども。
I just want to say that our reaction, that makes us really happy, you know, because sometimes maybe we worry that our fan bases are completely overlapping and that, for example, you know, if we were to do a song together, maybe it wouldn't reach anyone new because we have all the same fans. So to hear that somebody doesn't necessarily associate us that much is pretty cool. Also, we didn't want to give the sense that like a collaboration between us was inevitable always. It's weird because we knew each other from a very young age. Like he was 12 and I was 14, and we were sending music back and forth, and kind of basically to start over, me and Hugo met on like a music producers internet forum when we were both really young, and he was like 12, I was 14, and we were almost rivals because we were both known as the youngest kind of producers on this forum. And so then we both kind of had these separate music careers that we didn't really come up together, and so we found the whole story to be so unlikely.
Yeah, and we initially, when we started our careers with quite different styles, you know, you were way more electro and I was more kind of pop sounding, and so it wasn't obvious that we were going to collaborate, stylistically at least. It was a very special time for internet relationships. You know, there was a lot more anonymity, and so you would bond over similar interests as opposed to geography. It was, you know, before Facebook, so, you know, people would meet online, you know, through those common interests.
この曲の制作について聞きたいんですけれども、マデオンさんのフランスのスタジオで作られたっていう話があったんですけども。
Yeah, Poter flew to Europe for some shows and came to my house in Nantes, in the west of France, for a few days. In the very room where I first started making music, in the basement of my parents' house. And it's a room that has a pretty unique vibe that obviously meant a lot to me because of nostalgia, but that Poter loved as well.
It's so cool in there. I'll tell you about it, or you can describe
it.
His room is amazing.
It is basically one of the walls is adjacent to the garden, and it's a glass door where you can see like a bamboo garden, so the sun kind of shines through and you kind of feel outside, and so. That vibe is really influenced like the artwork we use, for instance, for the album. With
art is kind of styled after like the backyard, because which is so close to the studio.
And so we really wanted to write as much as we could in person because even though we met online, you know, we became friends, and so we love, you know, being around each other. And I think writing songs, especially a song like this, where we try to pay attention to, you know, the lyrics as well. We wanted to have this, you know, face-to-face. Process.
このミュージックビデオ、すごい音とあと歌詞とあとそのアニメーションの世界観が融合していて一つの作品になっているっていう。
Well, thank you so much. I'm really happy.
すごい嬉しいです。
Premiering the music video at the MODI billboard was really pretty strange but cool feeling for me because on one hand it was really great to do it, you know, in Tokyo where so much of the work was done. I had come to Tokyo and stayed in Shibuya for like several trips to work on the animation project together with A1, but at the same time it's like my image of this video is something that's very deeply kind of personal, and I see it as something that it's very kind of serene in some ways and beautiful, and it was a pretty chaotic scene as well in Shibuya. There was like, I was standing next to Wild Party and Dayama as we were watching it, and then there was just like two guys having a fight on the street in Shibuya, like two drunk guys fighting. So I was really nervous, but I hope that the video was able to reach people there. And then when it came out online, of course, I was really.
If I can speak about the connection between the music and the video, so obviously I didn't work on the video; it was Porter's project. But when I saw it for the first time, I had the same, amazed reaction at how well it fit the song. Like we didn't specifically write the song for the video, but it turned out to be the perfect complement. I think the reason why it fits so well is because both projects, even though they were developed independently, explored themes that I guess are dear to you and to me, which is transmission and family. And so it was explored in the song itself, and it was in parallel explored in the video writing. Script. So
最初にやっぱそういうテーマで歌詞を書こうみたいな2人の中で話し合って生まれたんですかね。
Yeah, so we started writing the music together based on what our shared sensibility, but we quickly realized that we both cared a lot about songs and lyrics. That was something that was quite new to us. We started being more music minded and lyric minded, and so we had to find something that was going to mean something to the both of us. And we both have pretty similar family situation. We both live at home, and so that was one of the inspiration.
Yeah, we redid the lyrics about halfway through writing the song. It was actually Hugo's suggestion. I think we were using lyrics that were kind of very theoretical and sort of vague for a while, and then I think Hugo had this moment. We were working on the song together in person. Hugo had a moment where he was just like really fed up with the lyrics and like really wanted to take it in another direction, and so it was something that he really encouraged for us to write about, something that was pretty literal and very real to the both of us. And so we seriously sat down and said, what do we have in common that's a real motif of our lives that we can talk about? And our relationship to our parents is
and being similar ages, starting to think forward to the future and transmission, and seeing everything that did this kind of cycle of transmission through family. We both being in our early 20s, those were things that matter to us.
Yeah.
日本の文化とかの影響みたいなものについて詳しく聞きたくって、例えば J-POP とか、あとゲームとかコミックとか。
You want to speak on it first?
Sure. So, both Porter and I have been, heavily influenced by Japanese producers. Porter mentioned Yasutaka Nakata earlier, and that's I've been a fan of his production since pretty early on in my music production.
How did you learn about him, by the way?
My brother got into Capsule around 2007, I think, and it was really difficult to get that music back then. We had to create a Japanese iTunes account.
Wow, that's awesome.
Pretty thoughtful. We really wanted it. It was the most difficult to get.
That's
music
awesome.
to get.
I think Nick was doing the same thing, by the way, at the same time with Capsule.
And so yeah, I mean, Japanese culture in general is is very popular in France. We are a strong consumer of mangas and animation. So it's quite a lot of that music is also quite readily available through those means. And so I've quickly identified what was different about it compositionally compared to Western music. It tended to be a lot more experimental and dense when it came to chord and the composition, national aspects. And so that's something that I wanted to try to incorporate into my music quite early on.
And I guess for me, I've mentioned this in many interviews before, so I'm sorry if it's redundant, but the first exposure I had to electronic music was through Dance Revolution. So the first electronic music I ever heard was Japanese electronic music, and I think that influenced me for good, because right away I was exposed to those types of Japanese chord progressions and Japanese production style, and even some genres that were more popular in Japan than elsewhere. Obviously J-pop, but also things like Eurobeat and and so there was just more around the same time. I think there was kind of a surge in popularity in the US of things like anime, and of course we both grew up with like Nintendo being one of the biggest influences on our lives, and I think in all of our visuals and all of our music, Nintendo is such a massive influence. So I feel like I grew up in a period. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna agree with you. Instead of some of the first music that I truly loved was Nintendo soundtracks, which are very Japanese sounding in terms of composition. So that's one of the first music that made me want to make music at all.
Totally. Yeah. So I think we were both kind of raised. We had our childhood. You know, your experience in your childhood informs your taste for the rest of your life. And we grew up in a culture that was being strongly influenced by Japan's popular culture reaching the rest of the world. I think we both saw something special in it, and in different ways from each other, but in sometimes the same way.
マディオンと一緒にやるってことで、普段のツアー、ポーターだけのツアーとどう違うのかみたいな。
Yeah, basically, there's just like less of an emphasis on characters being on the screen, and it's like we wanted the feeling to be more like kind of a band type feeling.
Yeah.
So I guess there's more of a spotlight on us being on stage, but yeah, you said it better.
マルチネレコーズには若いトラックメーカーっていうかこう活躍し始めたばかりのトラックメーカーとかのリリースがたくさんあって、マデオンとかポーターみたいに世界で活躍するためにはこうどうしたらいいんだろうっていうアドバイスを2人から最後にもらえると。
To be successful, like outside of Japan,
like in the world.
I think we both agree that the most important thing is to not try to emulate what already works elsewhere, but try to insist on what's very unique and very different. So there's not that many artists that champion those Japanese sensibilities in the West, for instance. So that's not something to take away and replace with Western influences if you're trying to be successful in the West. I think it's best to embrace what's unique.
Yeah, I agree. My advice as well would be, it's very similar to what Hugo was saying. I think one place where a lot of music producers can go wrong is by trying too hard to like pander to what they think is the current popular sound, and oftentimes by the time their music comes out, it's like too little too late, and it's also, I think, just less inspiring to try to follow the current trend. I think it's once a music producer is actually they've practiced enough and worked for many years and is competent at what they do and is actually good at the music production side and songwriting musical side, that's where you want to stand out in terms of style. I think it's very easy to get stuck if you just copy what is the current popular sound. I think the way to last as an artist is to find what you really love and do it in a way that no one else is doing to the highest level.
なるほど。ありがとう。Yes.
Maybe in other words, because it's really possible that maybe what you love the most is something that can never succeed or never be popular, right? Maybe what you love the most is ambient harsh noise that is 30-minute long songs, right? But I guess to me, I think if you have the ability to do it, one path that I suggest is to try to use your taste and the things that you love to give people what they didn't know they wanted, basically. In other words, it's very easy to give people what they already know that they want and what they already know what they like, but I think a good path to popularity and to satisfaction as an artist is to try to help the culture begin to enjoy something they didn't know they wanted, like begin to enjoy something new, which is, that's the difference, I guess.
とてもいいアドバイスを。
Great advice.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
I want to live here.
Yeah, we really love it.
Thanks.